Today, I'm going to be breaking down 5 home improvements in your backyard space that can instantly improve your home value. These are based on real estate data, design trends, and most importantly, what people are actually paying for right now. And stick around, because after we go through the 5 things that improve home value, I'll be going over a mistake that people make that instantly kills their home value. So stay tuned for that. Now, a quick disclaimer. No matter what you do, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So, for example, if we mention adding a fire pit and then you get a $50 mild steel fire pit from Walmart, you cannot expect that to increase your home value by $3,000. That's just not how these things work. So when we go over each of these tips, we're going to be talking about high quality commercial grade materials, things that homeowners, contractors would actually use that can pass building codes and actually make sense and look nice in a space. Now, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's dive in. Upgrade number 1, clean landscaping. But not just any landscaping, we're talking about low maintenance, native plants. Now, experts suggest spending about 10 to 20% of your home value in clean landscaping. And if done right and done properly, you can expect about a 20 to 30% increase in your home value. So, for example, let's say we put $5,000 into some really nice landscaping, we could expect, if done right with the right buyer, that would get you about $15,000 in additional home equity. Now, why does this work? 1, it boosts curb appeal. That first impression when a new buyer shows up to the house, it gives them the right feeling right away. They can see this is their home. It'll also reduce your water bills if you use native plants. So, for example, if you're in the desert, you don't want to put palm trees up because those need a ton of water. So, make sure you stick with native plants. And third, it signals a well-maintained home. Again, it's that first impression. When you show up, if it looks beautiful on the outside, for a new home buyer, when they go in, they're going to have that bias and that thought as they go through the rest of your house. They think, okay, this is going to be a well-maintained home. Now, some tips. 1, frame your backyard like a living room. So we're talking about natural walkways, walls, barriers, things that segment the space and make it clear what it's being used for. 2nd, use mulch to add some color contrast and also help manage weeds. You don't want to have a beautiful flower bed and then some giant weeds sticking out of it. And 3rd, add some lighting. That could be those solar path lights or some spotlights and trees. It really adds some nice accents, especially in the evening and afternoon. A study out of Virginia Tech found that a well-maintained outdoor space had between a 5.5 and 12.7% price advantage over homes without that. On a $300,000 home, that's an extra $16,000 to $38,000 in additional home value. Upgrade number 2. This one's going to be privacy enhancements. Nobody wants to be on display in front of their neighbors. In short, privacy sells, period. It is super basic. Now, this one can range in price from free, if you just go out and plant some seeds and grow some trees, to a few $1,000s if you use those nicer aluminum slat walls or even cedar. Now, here are the top things we see. 1 is going to be fences. But if you live in a more modern home, you probably don't want the same white picket fence that you've been seeing since the 50s. What's really gaining popularity are horizontal slat walls. Now, these come in a few main materials. First one being vinyl. Now, the vinyl is going to be very affordable. The problem is the longevity isn't quite there. If you're in a place that gets a lot of sun, that vinyl can crack, get brittle, and fall apart in pretty short order. The other option is going to be cedar. Now, cedar is naturally rot resistant. It still rots, but it's going to be a little more resistant. The downside is you're going to have to stain that every year or 2. The other option is going to be aluminum or steel slats. Now, these are generally painted black, and the steel is going to be your cheapest option, but it's going to rust and corrode because it is almost always mild steel. I have not seen a stainless steel slat wall yet because the price is insane. The other option is going to be aluminum slat walls. Now, this is gaining in popularity in a really big way. 1, it's light. 2, it's pretty affordable when you look at weather-resistant and corrosion-resistant metals. And 3, it's pretty easily accessible. So you can get aluminum slat walls, can be horizontal slats, almost always painted black, and those are available all over the place. Now let's talk dollars and cents. On most of the privacy upgrades, you can generally expect about a 50 to 70% return on investment. Not nearly as much as the landscaping, but still a really nice return for a pretty simple implementation. Here's the psychology. When a buyer sees privacy, they think relaxing, hosting, having events, and enjoying this space. It's not a backyard, it's an extension of the home. You're not selling a backyard or walls, you're selling a lifestyle. Upgrade 3, defined deck and patio zones. If your yard is just a big patch of grass, you're leaving money on the table. Right now, stamped concrete pads are really hot. Now, a stamped concrete pad can cost anywhere from $10 to $20 a square foot. So a 10 by 10 stamped concrete pad is anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. Now, most people won't go with just a 10 by 10. So let's say you don't go with 10 by 10 and 20 by 20, that would cost anywhere between $4,000 and $8,000. Now, the main benefit of concrete and why so many people are going that way is it's low maintenance when compared to a wooden deck or pavers. For the most part, you set it, forget it, maybe you reseal it every year or two, but if installed properly, it's not gonna require a lot of maintenance, not like wood that you gotta stain every year. Now, why does this work? It creates usable space without major construction. If you've seen a deck installation, that can take a long time. It also signals value through usability. When somebody sees a concrete pad, they think, look at all the things I can do with this. They don't have to worry about weight or where the floor joists are. It's just simple, easy to use. And with this ease of use, it encourages furniture placement and decor. You can really make it your own. So some ideas for this. We're gonna stick with things that are gonna last. So let's say stamped concrete or pavers. Those are gonna last quite a while. Stamped concrete obviously lasting the longest. Pavers look fantastic, but they do have some drawbacks when compared to concrete. You could also go with composite decking. Composite decking is gaining in popularity in a huge way. Now, it's gonna be more expensive than a wood deck, harder to work with, but it's gonna last a lot longer. Another hot trend is gonna be gravel or crushed granite with edging. So you get a nice crushed granite path. The issue there is you're gonna have to maintain it a little more because you don't wanna get a bunch of deep spots that get puddles. So it looks nice, but it does require quite a bit of maintenance. From a dollars and cents standpoint, expect about 50 to 80% return on investment for your defined backyard space and platform. You don't have to redo your whole yard, just define zones. You have dining here, relaxing there. You just need to stage it in the same way you would an indoor space. It's just outdoors. Upgrade number 4, shade structures. Now, the price range can vary pretty dramatically. If you want to go for retractable awning, a permanent shade structure, custom roof, sunroom, screen room, all sorts of things. We're going to stick with open concept ideas for this. So permanent structure that'll be able to handle wind, snow that you don't have to manage. For this, the price range can vary from $10,000 to $20,000 if you're doing it DIY. If you're doing a custom installation with a contractor, take that and triple it. So $30,000 to $60,000. Now, when combined with these defined zones, whether it be a concrete pad or a deck, this helps create more usable space. If you're in Arizona, and I'm sure some of you are, in the middle of the summer at high noon, you don't want to be under the sun. But if you get a permanent shade structure, it makes the space usable in full sun. So it expands your ability to live outside and in your home. You just added basically an extra room of usable space. So something like a motorized pergola, for instance. These are becoming incredibly hot, which is why I'm in the business of manufacturing these. So if you do something like ours, which is called the luxury pergola, it's made from aircraft grade aluminum, can handle the wind, snow, even a direct hit from a Category 5 hurricane, which has happened to our customers. Now remember, there's gonna be value and versatility when you get a shade structure. Some people, depending on your buyer, they may want sunlight, they may want a solid roof. By getting the best of both worlds with a motorized pergola, you can appeal to both of those buyers. And it just looks cool. And with that versatility, a potential buyer can make that shaded space into anything they want. It could be a dining area, it could be a place to host and relax, it could be a yoga studio. It's really whatever you imagine it to be. And when you have a buyer coming in, if they can imagine a space and you don't have to tell them, that is the best possible situation. Now with these permanent shade structures, there are 2 ways you can do it. You can DIY it, which is definitely doable, or you could have a contractor come in and custom build it for you. Now the price difference between those 2 things is going to be pretty dramatic. But regardless of what you choose to do, make sure that whatever you're buying or putting in there can meet the building codes for your area. That is the most important piece. Because if you get a shade structure that does not comply with local building codes, whatever return on investment you thought you were going to get, it's gone. Because it could blow away in an instant or get crushed by snow. We have a link in the description for a tool where you can put in your zip code and get your wind and snow loads. As far as ROI, if you do a DIY and it is commercial grade and complies with your building codes, you can expect about a 70 to 90% return on investment. Now, if you do a custom install with a contractor, it's going to be less, just because there's more upfront cost. So with that, you can expect about 20 to 50% return on investment. It really depends on how custom you go and if it's designed for just you or potential buyers in the future. Upgrade number 5, fire features. one of the most emotionally powerful upgrades that you can add to your house. Upfront costs, they vary greatly. From $100 for a DIY cinder block fire pit to a couple thousand for a custom installation with a contractor, custom stonework, the whole 9 yards. Add $50 to $150 for a gravel base and a high heat mortar. And for gas, add an additional $300 to $3,000 for custom plumbing. Running a gas line can get really expensive. And the biggest thing to worry about there, and why the cost varies greatly, is how long is the run and what's in the way. Now, why does this work? One, it's really instinctual. So it turns your backyard into a four-season space. People imagine entertaining there, you get heat in those cool evenings. Just a nice place to gather. It creates ambiance, it creates zones where people can hang out and enjoy themselves. So if you have a grill in one area and then a fire pit in the other, now you've got two distinct zones where people are hanging out, having a good time, and you can host. It also sets a great tone for photos and walkthroughs. So if you have somebody coming to view your home, turn the fire pit on. It really sets the mood and creates a great ambiance. Now here's a cost-saving tip. Use retaining wall blocks from a hardware store. Those usually cost about $2 to $5 each, and create the gravel base yourself. Usually all in, this will cost about $400. Now, return on investment. This one varies quite a bit because on the really high end, you're gonna see a big cost investment and probably a pretty good return. On the low end, sure, your investment is gonna be lower, but the return is probably also gonna be lower. But from a general rule of thumb, you can expect about 60 to 80% return on investment. There's a reason that home builders add fireplaces to a house. Warmth equals home, and the same thing applies for your backyard space. Now, I promised at the beginning, here's the mistake that a lot of people make that really hurts their home value. And this one, we've kind of touched on it already, is over customizing it for yourself. So for example, if you put a $10,000 koi pond in your backyard in Minnesota, you probably won't have a whole lot of buyers for that. Same thing goes for a full tiki bar, unless you live in Hawaii. Ultra personal designs can clash with the neighborhood itself. A good rule of thumb is you can design for yourself, but upgrade for the next buyer. And the last mistake is only doing one of these improvements. For example, if you get a fire pit and put it out in the middle of your backyard and there's nothing else, you're not getting a return on that. While individually, they can range in return on investment from 50 to 80% on average. By combining them, you get a much greater return. Each of the ROIs will start to compound on each other. In short, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. All right, so there you go. 5 backyard tips to improve your home value right away. If you're considering something like a pergola for your shade structure, I've got a link right here where you can get a full guide on what to look for and what to avoid in a louvered pergola. Thanks for watching, and remember, your dream backyard is closer than you think.